Yes, please check. We're live. Please check the Discord chats you can caught up with. There's some good eats in there. Um, Let me tweet about it, even though like I have no followers on Twitter. I just think it's fun. All right, we're here. Calming Rowlet. All right, we're here. We're live. Wait, it's week 2. I tweeted it and said, whoops, I tweeted it and said week 3 on accident. Whatever. It's fine. Does my Twitch thing say week? It says week 3. You know why? Because it is technically week 3, but week 1 was week 0.
I think this is a bad omen for week 2. I mean, week 1 was already pretty bad. And now
So,
you're skipping week 2, just won't even want to think about it?
no, we're going to week. All right, it's week 2. Everything is correct now, except for the tweet, but I can't undo that. And I'm not paying $8 a month to edit my tweets. And I would never willingly give Elon Musk any money anyway, but that's a different show. Uh, F101 week 2. Almost everyone is here. We're missing Sam. It's fine. He probably won't even be able to make it till the summer anyway. We're doing the Australia review really quickly. Then we'll do the China preview. There's some good stuff sprinkled in between. Nate, before we start, is there anything you'd like to say about the opening race? Keep it brief, please.
Anything I'd like to say about the um
Any celebrations you'd
solid
like to make?
call, solid call by McLaren. Not completely fucking that up. Um, we love the fight from Oscar as well. If anything, I don't understand. Like, I do and I don't understand not letting him fight sooner. Just, he had the pace. I just whatever, I guess. Shout out the boy Kimmy, and that's it. That's all I've got.
All right. I thought it was going to be a little more braggadocious, but I'll accept. So the reason I did that is because the finishing order in first place we had Lando Norris, second place Max Verstappen, and then in third place George Russell. That's the podium, and then going on it was Antonelli, Albon, Stroll, Hulkenberg, Leclerc, Piastri, Hamilton, Gasly, Tsunoda, Ocon, and Behrman. There were 6 DNFs this race in order: Hadjar, Doohan, Sainz, Alonso, Bortoletto, and Lawson. I Personal notes, that's how you do an opening race. Good amount of rain caused a good amount of chaos. I love the opening weekend being in Australia way more than in Bahrain. Bahrain's a pretty boring opening weekend. It's not necessarily a boring track, but it makes for a relatively boring opening weekend. A lot of the Middle East races suffer from a lack of fans because it's only really like, I think it's like seen as just a networking event instead of like a fan event. And a lot of times the grandstands are pretty empty. Um, where Australia had like 500,000 people there, something like that. So that's crazy. Um, I have a new thing. I have people who had a good day and people who had a bad day. So my good day: Lando Norris, Max Verstappen, Kimi Antonelli, and Nico Hulkenberg. Bad day: rookies not named Kimi Antonelli, the Spanish, and Oscar Piastri. um, and I'll get into that. The Spanish, because both Spanish drivers did not finish the race. Sainz didn't make it past lap 1. Alonso didn't make it past lap 10. And it's a 50 something. I think it's a 57 lap race. So, rookies, obviously, all of them but Behrman and Antonelli crashed. And Oscar Piastri was running up in second for a really long time, took a bad spin. Him and Lando both went off the racetrack in the rain. Lando recovered, Oscar didn't, and then he did. We'll get into it. But the first thing about the race is that McLaren have very firmly placed themselves as the team to beat. I think if it didn't rain, they would just cruise to a 1-2. No issues. They're clearly the fastest car. And even in the rain, especially Norris, they were just faster. I had no faith in Norris. He hasn't been good in the rain lately or ever, but he proved me wrong. And I'm willing to admit that. Around, I think it was like lap 50, maybe it was a little earlier. Like I said, they both went off. Norris recovered. Piastri didn't. But a very key thing is that it was raining at this time. Piastri went off into the grass, but he didn't stop his car. In Formula One, if you stop your engine, you cannot restart it and rejoin the race. If at any point your engine shuts off, even if it's just a random power failure, you're done. even if it's like even if the car, you can turn it on, the car can still drive, doesn't matter. Engine off, you're done. He actually very critically did not do that, and he got back into the race, which prevented a safety car and likely saved Norris from Verstappen. Verstappen was really good on safety car restarts, and Norris, I don't know if, and in the rain, I don't know if Norris would have been able to defend Verstappen when he's right up on him. Thankfully, he had some space. Thankfully for McLaren fans, he had some space, and he ended up winning the race. The McLaren strategy was relatively good, although, and Nate alluded to this, they told Oscar not to challenge Lando. They were like, hey, hold position, don't fight, hold position. Even though it's your home, they didn't say this, but even though it's his home race, don't fight for first place. And then after Piastri's moment, like literally right after the moment, they're like, all right, you're good to race. It's like, oh, come on, man. It's a little like bad timing. But other than that, which McLaren's strategy was definitely much better than it was last year. I think they're more confident this year in leading and in being in first. Last year, they kind of didn't really know how to handle it. Hungary last year is the best example of this. Dave, I know you weren't really paying attention to last year, but in Hungary, the best way to describe it is that McLaren had to basically hold hostage negotiations over the radio in order to figure out whether Oscar or Lando was going to win the race. It
No,
was a total mess.
I wouldn't expect anything else from F1 drivers after experiencing my first race last week. They seem pretty cutthroat. Teammates don't seem to like each other, and I think that's beautiful.
Depends on the teammates, but you always want to beat your teammate because that's the best marker of your ability because they're in the same car. Sometimes they're not in the same car. We'll get into that. Also, you cannot ever, no matter what, count out Max Verstappen. He was very much challenging for the race win at many parts of the race. Obviously, he didn't get it, but he got a solid second. Like I said earlier, credit to Norris and McLaren, who seem more confident and used to running in front and defending from Verstappen. Last year, I don't think they had the sauce. This year, they've clearly done some work over the offseason. They're ready to be in front, which is part of why they've established themselves as the team to beat. I think they're going to be a lot harder to beat this year than they were last year, and that's not just because of their car. Now on my rant, my weekly rant, Tsunoda race completely ruined by Racing Bull's strategy. They kept Tsunoda out on slicks 1 lap longer in the rain than they should have, and it dropped him. He was running in second at a point, and he ended up finishing the race in 12th. He probably wouldn't have kept second. Definitely couldn't have defended against Verstappen. He might have gotten third, probably not, but fourth and fifth was likely. A very solid points haul, and Racing Bull's strategy is so bad, as it always is. Totally ruined his race. I firmly believe that anyone who shows a glimmer of having good strategy at Racing Bulls just gets pulled up to Red Bull immediately. They're like, we need you, get up in here. You're not allowed to be on the junior team. And it leaves them with scraps. And it's really frustrating as a Yuki fan to watch that moment. I was in shambles. I was crashing out IRL. I was so annoyed. Russell, George. And if anyone has anything to say, of course, just interrupt me. It's fine. But George Russell once again gets a podium by doing absolutely nothing. It's like the third time in the last 2 years that he's gotten a podium just by driving and having like no incidents. He doesn't fight anyone for any places. He just kind of drives, and then he gets a podium because the people in front of him mess up. In this case, it was Oscar Piastri. Last year, it was Lewis, and then also Norris and Verstappen. And he just benefits from people's mistakes. And Antonelli had a crazy weekend. He qualified 16th. He did not qualify very well, and he jumps up to 4th in the race. Easily the best rookie of the field, even with the car. I think even without the car, he would have done very well. He was then dropped to 5th due to a penalty, and then that penalty was then rescinded, and then he got back up to 4th again. So good showing for Antonelli. Nate was pretty excited about that. He likes Antonelli. He said that he was almost going to buy Mercedes gear, and I called him a sellout.
Hold up. I just want to point out that I openly admitted to being a sellout when I said that.
That's true, but I can still insult you for it. It's my show. I make the rules. I'm like the MBS of this show. What I say goes, and everyone has to pay me $10,000 anytime they disagree.
Would you consider it to be a sellout if you're a Kick Sauber fan?
In a different way.
There's different types of sellout. Selling
Yeah,
out for gambling rather than wins.
yeah, that's like selling your soul, and not in a good way, not in like a fun Ferrari way. It's more in like a sad way, unless you're a huge Audi fan because they become Audi next year. But I know you're not, so
No, I'm a big bus guy, so once Big Bus comes and
big
sponsors a car, I'm all in.
big bus. Okay, yeah, that's true. You were a
So
bus driver,
buses. I've driven a Mercedes bus.
so there you go. You're a Mercedes fan.
I don't know if I'd say that. If they paid me some money, maybe.
Uh, you're a Mercedes fan. You have to pick a team, and you can't pick a team anyone else has already chosen. So,
There seems
um,
to be a lot of emergency vehicles outside of my house. So
uh-oh.
I might not respond for a little bit. Let me
No
go look at
worries. No worries. All right, moving on. The rest of the rookies had a bad time. Behrman had a horrible weekend. He crashed in FP1, didn't participate in FP2, crashed in FP3 on the first lap, didn't qualify at all, barely survived the race because the Haas is trash. But at least he finished, unlike Hadger and Doohan, who I wrote Hadger and Doohan didn't make it past the formation lap. That's technically not true. Doohan didn't make it past lap 1. He actually got a racing lap in, only half of one. Hadjar was in total tears. He was a mess after the race. He felt really bad. Helmut Marko, the guy who's in charge of the Red Bull Junior program, completely insulted him, said it was embarrassing. And Lewis Hamilton's dad, who, if you don't know, Isaac Hadjar's idol is Lewis Hamilton. He loves Lewis Hamilton. When he first met Lewis Hamilton as like a fellow driver, he was like sweating and shaking and he couldn't control himself. And so Lewis Hamilton's dad came up and gave Isaac a hug and was like comforting him. And I was like, that's sweet. It's really nice of Anthony Hamilton. And also probably a very helpful for Isaac in his first race to kind of just hope like get a little bit more emotionally set. Um, and for the final rookie, Bortoletto lost his car about halfway through the race, just spun it in the rain. Um, the second Red Bull seat continues to be cursed. Lawson qualified 18th. He did not qualify well at all. Then he crashed the car, and the Checo comparisons are already flying. And the Red Bull social media admin liked a comment that said, "Close enough, welcome back, Checo." I think it was probably an accident. Probably didn't mean to like it, but they liked it, and it is all over social media. But Lawson also guinea pigged a setup in qualifying, which is probably why he didn't qualify well. They set his car up differently for the to test out things for like the future and for Max. And so Lawson, there's nothing he could do about that. He just had to suffer through like a different a setup car that was objectively slower, which is why I say that not always teammates have the same car. Because in Red Bull, a lot of times you're guinea pigging stuff for Verstappen. Um, Sorry, Andrew, but the Haas continues to be really slow, and their horrible strategy did not help them out either. They did not
Not again.
finish well. Um, was that in relation to Haas or was that into Monster Hunter, Nate? Good talk.
I don't want to
Tails,
talk about it.
no worries. Tales of two drivers, Williams and Aston. Albon and Stroll finished 5th and 6th, while Sainz didn't survive lap 1 and Alonso crashed later. So they got two drivers on two very different trajectories, like starting their seasons off very differently. But I think Williams is way more hopeful. Albon was up there until he crashed. He didn't even crash. He just finished like. Oh, I'm sorry. Sainz. I'm messing up. Williams is much more hopeful. Albon did really well. I think Sainz has the potential to do really well. He qualified really well. He just wasn't used to the car. And that's really hard in the rain. People who weren't used to their cars, aside from Antonelli and Hulkenberg, did not do well. All the rookies, Sainz, Lawson, Hamilton, and Ocon, all struggled in their own ways. Getting used to the new cars hard. Hamilton was kind of like he's having a lot of growing pains with Ferrari. He was kind of going back and forth with his engineer. He was like, "Just leave me alone. I know what I'm doing." And the engineer was like, "Press the K1 button, please." And he was like, "I just leave me alone." And it was a whole thing. So there's still some growing pains, but welcome to Ferrari, Lewis. You got bad strategy, you got annoying engineers. You're just gonna have to deal with it. They've been dealing with it for forever. the poor Ferrari fans have been dealing with it for even longer. But yeah, Williams I think is more hopeful than Aston. Stroll drove a great race. I don't know if he can keep it up. Um, and I think Williams' driver pairing is stronger, and I think their car might be better than Aston's. Excuse me. Hulkenberg scored more points in one race for Sauber than they did in all of 2024. He scored 6 points this race. Sauber scored 4 points last year total. So they're already doing better than they were last year, and that's a plus. Good for Hulkenberg. He's like a solid driver. He's not one of the greats in my opinion, but he's a good, very solid driver. And then Stroll raced a clean and competent race. He and Albon, I think, beat the washed allegations this weekend. I think Albon didn't really have washed allegations, but he could have, especially up against Sainz. But Stroll definitely had washed allegations, and they both beat them, I think. I think they're both in a better standing this week than they were before the first race of the season. New thing I'm doing every week, I'm gonna try and pick a certified Ferrari moment. This week it was a conversation between Leclerc and his engineer, where Leclerc said, "Is there a leakage?" And his engineer was like, "A leakage of what?" And Leclerc responded, "I have the seat full of water, like full of water." And the engineer said, "Oh, must be the water." And Leclerc was like, "All right, let's add that to the words of wisdom." In the middle of the race. It was a total mess. It was classic Ferrari. Like you just can't get more Ferrari than something like that. At least modern Ferrari. So that's this week's certified Ferrari moment. Honorable mention are the Ferrari and Racing Bull's strategy to leave drivers out in the rain on slicks. Both of them did that. Both teams. Ferrari pulled their drivers in too late. So did Racing Bulls. Classic Ferrari not having a good strategy, especially in the rain. Some interesting pick the podium stats. The Big 5-0, as of last week, Max Verstappen is now our first and only driver to have been chosen to win 50 total times. In second place was Lando Norris. He's got 28. Max also has the most second place picks, but not the most third place picks. That belongs to Charles Leclerc. The only McLaren fan in the world, Nate, was the only person to have a McLaren driving winner, and he was correct about it. Congratulations to Nate.
Thank
Your
you. Thank you.
your fanboyism paid off, at least in one category.
Look, I was a fan when they were mid.
That's true. It's true. Some breaking news for this coming week. So that's the review. Anything else anyone would like to throw in there after the race review?
Um,
I'm gonna take that as a no. After a long thought.
yeah. Thought about it. I was like, I don't have anything substantial
I think
that like wasn't already covered.
Yeah, I tried to get most of it. So some breaking news. The FIA are introducing a stricter rear wing deflection test. It's designed to toughen rear wing flexibility tests starting at this week's race, the Chinese Grand Prix. It's worth noting that every single car passed the old test in Australia, but the FIA were not satisfied with the levels of flex still allowed. This is essentially giving teams a mini DRS. McLaren especially is really benefiting from this. It's also important to note that after the race, Norris's car was tested additionally even more for a flexi wing and a mini DRS, and it still passed. But the FIA is like, we're getting stricter on it. But McLaren are not the only teams to have like a quote unquote mini DRS. Ferrari's got one. Mercedes, I think, has one. Red Bull's is not as good as everyone else's, but McLaren is the most blatant. And because they're winning, it's going to seem like they're getting picked on, but that's how it is every year with whoever's in front. That's just another way teams try to get an advantage is they'll see what one team is doing and they're like, okay, that's not legal due to this, and this. We're going to challenge that. Happens when Red Bull was leading, happens when Mercedes was leading, Ferrari, it's always whoever's leading, there's going to be underhanded shit like that going on. So this is and it isn't a witch hunt against McLaren. But they're definitely guilty of it more than anyone else. And then Red Bull, McLaren, Mercedes, and Williams all had delays in bringing their stuff to Shanghai. All four of them. There were parts of the cars and tires and stuff they didn't get in on time. These four teams have been given extensions in the amount of time they have to get everything to set up for the weekend. Usually there's a curfew. After that time, you're not allowed to work on the car or do anything. They've been given 4.5-hour extensions. And as of the writing of this, it was there. So the cargo has arrived. Everyone's got it. And those teams have extensions in the time. And Pirelli, the tire supplier, was affected, but I couldn't find out like to what extent. Like, are we going to have tires this weekend? I think so. We should, but I don't. Like I said, I don't know to what extent. And I don't think. I think if Pirelli is like a day late, it won't matter as much. Um, so that's the breaking news. China preview. It's a sprint weekend. It's the first sprint weekend of the year. Um, so Eastern time, practice is Thursday at 11:30 p.m. Sprint qualifying is Friday at 3:30 a.m. Sprint is Friday at 11 p.m. Qualifying is Saturday at 3 a.m. and the race is Sunday at 3 a.m. I'll not be watching any of this live because I have plans on Saturday that require me to go to bed early on Friday. uh And then I don't know if you can see in the document, but I have the picture of Max Verstappen photoshopped as Mao Zedong, and it says, "Will Max Zedong give Red Bull a great leap forward in points?" I just can't get over this image. It's so funny to me. I love it so much. I put it in the Discord. I put it on the document. It's so good.
Now, quick question, because historically, Maoism really they had all these propaganda, posters with Mao and the Russian Soviets coming
Mhm.
together. Are there any Soviet or communist drivers that
There was a Russian driver in Red Bull. His name was Daniel Kvyat, and then he kind of had a really bad run of it. Here's what happened to Daniel Kvyat. He was racing in Red Bull. Then Max Verstappen took his race seat, took his girlfriend, and took his daughter all in the same year.
You know what? That sounds like something that communist China would do to Soviet Russia. So
So he
that
basically
makes sense.
ruined his life. They apparently have a good relationship, and him and his daughter still have a good relationship and stuff, but it is pretty funny.
Wait. Is that the same? Hold up. Is that the same
Penelope.
woman that like Max is with now, like and
Yes,
having a kid
Her
with?
name is Kelly Piquet. She is the daughter of Nelson Piquet, who is a former world champion Formula One driver who also very famously called Lewis Hamilton the N word. Hard R too.
Um,
Wow.
Oh yeah,
A
Max
great
Verstappen
guy.
is surrounded by horrible people. Christian Horner, his dad, Nelson Piquet, Helmut Marko, and Max Verstappen ends up being like a genuinely good guy who doesn't really care about anything except for his cats and racing cars. So you know, he's good. Like, he's got a good head on his shoulders, that Max guy.
Yeah. He's like, you know what? I am a racist.
No.
I love racing. End of conversation.
Yes, Formula One says you can be the best racist.
He doesn't see color because everyone's wearing all that gear.
Yeah, except it very different. Everyone is in different colors, but anyway,
Oh yeah, he sees those colors. He cares about the team colors. When he
right.
sees someone on his own team, he's got to get past them.
Fair enough. That's true. You're right. I can't dispute any of this, really. Um,
Yeah.
so like I said, it's the first sprint of the year. I think they're doing 6 sprints this year. It was 6 last year. I think they're doing 6 again this year. I don't know where they are. I know one of them's in Austin, which we're going to, which is awesome for us because we get to see 2 races. But I don't know where any of the other ones are. And I don't really care because I don't really like the sprints. A lot of people don't like the sprints. But the big thing about sprints is you get 1 practice session opposed to 3, which is going to be tough on the rookies and those new to the teams are still adjusting to their cars because they only get 1 practice session to try and figure everything out. Um, However, China is an actual racetrack instead of a street circuit, which is generally more forgiving on crashes than street circuits. And what I mean by that is that there's more runoff. So if you go off, like there's not just a wall, you have some space before you hit the wall. Um, Usually it's gravel or grass or something. So, there's not like a crash doesn't necessarily mean a red flag. It probably just means a shorter safety car. Um, so it's a little more forgiving. Um, Behrman, Hadjar, Doohan, and Bortoletto are all looking to kind of bounce back on rough full-time debuts. And it's going to be an uphill battle because not only is there only 1 practice session, I don't think any of them have raced on this track before. It's not on the F2 calendar. It's not on the F3 calendar. Um, so it might be their first time ever racing on this track. Whereas for Sainz and Hamilton and uh Actually, I don't know if Lawson's ever raced here. Actually, he might have. But for Sainz and Hamilton, they've raced on China before. Hamilton, especially, he has the most wins in China. He's got the most pole positions. He's led the most laps. He's scored the most points. He's got the most fastest laps. He's got every record for the track. So he's used to he's a new car, but at least it's not like, he's used to the racetrack. So he'll know what he's doing. So hopefully he'll have a better showing. But the big story is going to be McLaren looking to continue to establish themselves as number one. Norris probably wants to build an early lead for the Drivers' Championship. Excuse me. But behind him, Piastri, looking for a bit of redemption, probably not content to play second to Norris this early in the year. It's only week 2. If Piastri has 2-3 really good weeks in a row, then he'll be the World Drivers' Championship favorite, and McLaren will have to put him first as opposed to Norris. So I don't think Piastri's gonna I don't know if I feel maybe if they tell him hey, hold position, he might not do it. He might, but he might not. So we'll see what happens with him, but he's definitely not going to be content to play second in week 2. Probably not all year at all. Maybe halfway through the year, when it's kind of more clear, but definitely not this early. Their biggest contenders, Red Bull, can't afford another Checo situation this year if they want to remain hyper competitive. They've been pretty we only care about the Drivers' Championship, not the Constructors' Championship. But I think they really should care about both, and I think they do, even if they say they only really care about Verstappen. They took a gamble on putting Lawson in that seat, and he's got to deliver. High expectations for only the second race. It's Red Bull, and Red Bull's cutthroat. They're harsh, and they are notorious like that. The car isn't as dominant, but Verstappen's still, challenging for wins. So, well, they need Lawson to be up there. They can't have him not scoring points like Checo. It makes a mess for strategy. It makes a mess for the team. So they're going to want more out of him. And we'll see how that develops throughout the year. One of my bold predictions is that Lawson survives the year. We'll see if he proves me wrong. Because I think if he doesn't make it through the whole year in that Red Bull seat, I don't think they're going to put Yuki in, because they don't like Yuki. And we covered that last year. And I don't really... It's just going to make me mad. Ferrari is hoping for a much stronger performance this week. Strategy was not great in Australia. The car was not as fast as everyone was expecting. Everyone thought they were going to be second, third. They were going to be up there. Hamilton is still getting used to what makes Ferrari. And I don't mean that in a good way. But it's long season. It's week 2 out of 24, so don't count them out just yet. You can probably count them out. If it's like this up through week 5, you might be able to say it's washed. Maybe, especially halfway through the year, week 12. But we'll see how Ferrari kind of handles that. The other top 4 team, Mercedes, are looking to kind of continue their current form. They finished 3rd and 4th. They finished really well last week. Probably want to fight for wins, but in recent years, the car has not been as good in the warmer weather. It's been better in colder weather. So if China's hot, which I think it's going to be, it'll be a good test to see if the car is actually fast and up there, or if they just benefited from the cooler weather provided by the rain. And Antonelli is obviously hopeful to keep his rookie season off to a very strong start. I think he could get a podium this year. I think he will get a podium this year. It's just a matter of when. My team, the Racing Bulls, they need to work in the strategy department. The car is faster than anyone expected. I didn't think they were going to be as fast as they were, but it's there. And Tsunoda and Hadjar had great qualifying times in Australia, but if the strategy sucks, the points are going to suffer. And they can't afford that, especially where in the midfield where points are so much more important. And I want to see them do well. And I want to see Yuki and Hadjar do well. So they need to get their strategy set. And if they do that, I think they'll have a much better year than they did last year. China will show if Australia's a fluke for Kick Sauber, or if they can consistently fight for points, unlike last year when they couldn't get any points until the last 2 races of the year. So we'll see if Hulkenberg and Bortoleto have what it takes, if the car is actually kind of good, or if they got lucky because of the rain. Williams, I think, is the most hopeful of any of the midfield teams. They had both of their drivers had really good qualifying laps, and only obviously Sainz crashed out. It's hard to tell if he was actually going to do super well in the race or not. Last week But Albin drove amazingly, and so maybe if maybe if Sainz will probably have a better week this week if the car is still good. Sometimes teams are good on one track and they're not good on the other track. It's kind of hard to tell who's good on what types of tracks this early in the year, so we'll see. But Williams, I think they've got high hopes out of any of the other midfield teams, and Haas is hopefully just hoping they can recover over the year, get the car up to speed. It looks slow, it looks hard to drive. Ocon qualified dead last in Australia, and the only reason he was dead last, even though 19th, is because Behrman didn't qualify, period. They had a really bad weekend. It was really slow. Hopefully, they're looking to develop the car over the year. I don't know if this week will be as good for them, but they're going to be hoping that they can keep getting better. And also hoping for a better weekend is Alpine, especially Jack Doohan. He didn't do well at all. He crashed in the first lap. They're in a great position at the end of 2024. I think everyone was feeling good about them. They had high hopes. But the year has not started off as well as 2024 ended. So Pierre, Doohan, they're all going to be looking to do better. And my final little piece is Stroll good this year? Is the Aston fast? This can only be answered with time, because I think that Stroll's performance, I think a lot of people might think that this performance might have been a little bit of a fluke. The rain is hard to tell who is truly the fastest. So this week should be a more of like setting order, potentially. So that's it for the China preview. It's gonna be a busy weekend with the sprints and stuff. We're doing pick the podium. We'll do that in a minute here. We're not predicting the sprint, only the main race. So that is the China preview. Anything else? Anything that anyone would like to know? Hopefully, I can answer.
Do you think that all teams with 0 points are going to score this week?
Who has 0 points?
Alpine, Racing Bulls, and Haas.
Alpine, Racing Bulls. Racing Bulls, I think, can do it. I think Racing Bulls can do it. I think I don't think Haas will. I think everyone else. I think Alpine and Racing Bulls can. What I don't know if they will, but I think they can.
I believe in the gas. I
Yeah,
believe in Yuki.
I believe in
You see
Yuki
my
as well.
predictions. You see my predictions, who I really believe. Berman really let me down.
Yeah.
Both in appearances and how he did racing. He's not living up to his name in any sense of the word, and
He's definitely not a bear. That is certain.
I don't know if I can trust him, and I know that Gasly and Ocon aren't on the best terms, so I don't know if I can root for Ocon.
As a
So yeah,
Gasly
I
fan,
agree.
valid. I don't root for Ocon.
No, his name is
So
just way worse.
yeah, the reason they grew up together, and allegedly the reason they hate each other is because Gasly stole Ocon's girlfriend in high school.
Fair.
Allegedly, I don't want to be putting anything out there, but allegedly that's the scenario.
I would pick Gasly too. Look at him. He's wearing pink. He looks good in it.
Yeah, and he got that hair
Ocon,
transplant.
yeah. Ocon doesn't need a hair transplant, but he looks kind of. He's mean bugging me in this picture I'm looking at.
Yeah, Ocon's won more races. He's won 2. Gasly's only won 1. But Gasly's race win was incredible. Monza 2022. Oh my goodness. Anyway, so yes, so that's that. I think Alpine and Racing Bulls can. Will they? That's tougher to say. I think they can. I don't know if they will. So that is that. We're on to pick the podium. Andrew, technically you're up first. I noticed that you're muted though, so no pressure. We can skip you and move on to me if you're here. I also know that you just got home from work, so you're probably like busy eating and stuff like that, which is totally fair.
I mean, I can always pick for Andrew.
I don't think he wants that. I'm just gonna go ahead and assume that he doesn't want that, given last week's performance.
Hey, I don't
All
think.
right, we'll move on. We'll come back to
in the
you.
reroll.
We'll come back to you, Andrew.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
My mic button would not unmute, so I
No.
had to close the app and open it back up.
No worries.
This week, I'm gonna stick with a similar top two in different orders. We're gonna go Norris, Verstappen, and then give me Kimmy in third.
Oh,
Ooh. Okay. I like this. I am gonna go Piastri. Oh, I'm in the Discord chat, not in the spreadsheet. Piastri, if I can spell it right. Piastri, Norris, Verstappen. That is my top three. Nate?
oh, jeez. I think first McLaren gets it right this week. I think we get the 1-2. I think we get Norris Piastri 1-2. I think Norris will succeed in fending Oscar off this weekend. Although for a moment there, it looks like if they would have fought, that Oscar would have had it. But where I'm gonna go Norris Piastri, and then I was damn close with that. Like, I was really considering making the swap to Kimmy, but
Do it. Nothing's stopping you. You just won't
no,
be
because I
original.
don't think it's. I don't want to put that much stock in the car, and then again, like, I feel like part of the reason Russell moved up so far, I feel like, is because he's just good. He's good at capitalizing when others make errors. He's great at doing that.
Well, he just gets lucky, in my opinion.
I feel like at a certain point, like again, like it's not the first time he's done like essentially nothing, right?
Yeah. And just got to win because the people in front of him messed up.
Right. For me, I feel like it's just like that. He's just consistent.
Yeah.
And then of course, though, I do think, historically speaking, that Merc has been good in the rain. So like, I don't think we're gonna see either of them be in three. I think they'll be close, but I don't think they'll be three. I'm a Red Bull hater, not a Verstappen hater, just Red Bull.
Fair.
So I don't want to put him there. But I don't know.
Hey,
I
I'm a
mean, I
McLaren
don't know
hater, and I got a
before.
1-2, so
I want to see Signs get in there. I want to see Signs podium just
Signs.
because
Ooh. All right.
I want to see Chili.
Sam, excuse me. Sam's had Leclerc, Norris, Verstappen. He,
A Ferrari believer, the only
yeah,
one
he
left.
also, if you want to know, he also told me that he wants, in order, he also thinks Piastri's getting fourth and Antonelli's getting fifth. He texted me Leclerc, Norris, Verstappen, Piastri, Antonelli, and I was like, okay, to be clear, your top three is Leclerc, Norris, Verstappen. You're not just these other names are fourth and fifth. You don't want to like include them. So that's
He needs to
his.
make it known. It's just in case it happens, or they get close, or they do podium.
Yeah, that's true. All right, Dave, schizo
Okay.
picks.
Okay, I've been thinking a lot about this. So, all of you who knows me know that I root for underdogs. I'm a Jacksonville Jaguars fan. And you know what? Once I became a Jacksonville Jaguars fan, they made it to the AFC Championship game. I'm a Utah Jazz fan. Once I became a their fan, Donovan Mitchell got to the team. We won't talk about what happens after that, but he was there. They made the playoffs. It was cool. So now I'm chasing a high. I'm looking around. I'm trying to guess the next like up and coming out of nowhere. Who's going to come up there? I didn't get it last week. I think I had it this week.
Okay.
We're going in third position, Isaac Hajar. He's
Okay.
going to come out, not crash immediately.
I love
No
this.
rain.
I love this.
No
Off to a
rain.
great start.
Third. We're going to go Jack Doohan, keeping up with the rookies.
Okay.
He's on Gasly's team. I think Gasly's a nice guy. And out of nowhere, having the worst teammate in the sport, Liam Lawson outraces Max Verstappen. His first race.
Okay.
It was the story of the year. His top three.
Yeah, hot
This
take.
completely changes the paradigm of the entirety of F1 for at least 2 weeks until we race again and everyone else and they all fail again.
I think if this were to happen, both Ferrari drivers, Verstappen, both McLaren drivers would need to crash into each other at the start.
I don't think Ferrari needs to do that. I think Ferrari just needs to Ferrari it.
Yeah, you know what?
Maybe
If
that
everyone
is
crashed into each other, I think Ferrari would still find a way to lose.
they do it. They do it. I think this might be the week though that my season long prediction comes true. I mean, if this podium's going to happen, you know, it's the best chance.
Oh, of a Verstappen Hamilton moment.
Yeah, of a Verstappen Hamilton moment. I think Gasly and Yuki don't podium only because of their love for each other. I don't know how that's gonna play out, but you know, we'll see it on the.
They'll stop racing. They'll try and do like a Hunger Games where they're both gonna win, and then Lawson Dew and Hadjar will just zoom past them.
Yeah, they like hold hands and try to block the track or something.
Yeah, that'd be really cute.
And then you know, I want to root for Behrman, but I don't think I can trust him.
Not yet.
Not yet. He has to earn my trust.
It's a long season. It ends in December, so it's a long season.
I trust everyone who crashed, but I don't trust Behrman. That's where I'm at right now.
Well, we will see. We'll be back. We'll see who's right, who's wrong. We will be back not next week because there's no race next weekend. We'll be back in 2 weeks for Japan. The Japan race in Suzuka. I entered a giveaway by Racing Bulls. I just had to answer a quiz question right, and I got entered to win a race, like a full, all expenses paid trip to the race. I don't think I'm gonna win, but that'd be cool.
What was the question?
Where does the race take place? Tokyo, Suzuka, or somewhere else? Kyoto, I think. And I was like, it's Suzuka.
Imagine a Kyoto race. That'd be dope. That'd be extremely dangerous and problematic for like culture and all that stuff, but that'd be pretty cool.
They should do a race in Taiwan.
It's all that'd be interesting.
All right, before I get in trouble, I'm gonna stop this stream.
Oh my god.
Thank you for watching and good night.